say I've been looking forward to Lady Titans, and when Sarah reached out this morning and said, Angie, we need you to step in here, I was like, awesome. What should we talk about today? And I think I gave her like 7 options. I'm like, here's all the things we could talk about. And she's like, let's do CSR stuff. So we've seen a lot of conversations coming up lately in masterminds and our Lady Titans, even in the community, about CSRs. My CSRs need training. My CSRs need help. What are you using to help your CSRs? And so something that I shared on a ServiceTitan webinar almost a year and a half ago was a call. I did a webinar all about how to help your CSRs maintain control of the call. And with, I know for some of us, it's our busy season. For those of you in HVAC, where temperature is a big part in the number of phone calls that you're receiving and your CSRs are receiving, it's important to help your CSRs feel confident and feel in control and know that they can maintain control of the call. And I know that you'll hire some CSRs who this just comes natural. It's their personality. They're able to go with the flow. They're able to handle whoever comes on the call with them. But you'll have other CSRs who, you know, the phones pick up, they get ringing, it gets busy, the board is full, they start to stress out. And so how can we help them maintain control when the calls are coming in, if they get an upset customer, if the customer is just price shopping, or they want someone today and they can't get someone, you know, if you can't get anyone today, I'm not booking with you. Like, there's a lot of pressure as a CSR right now, especially for those that are in their busy season. I have a daughter that worked 2 years for me as a CSR, and she will not come back because it was a lot. And so now her boyfriend's working for us as an install helper. So that works good. And we're like, you never know, you might just come back in. We'll see what we can do. I'm going to go ahead and share my deck with you. Let me share my screen. Hi. Hey, can everyone see? Thumbs up, yes?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Just double checking here to make sure you can see that okay. So, like I said, this is a webinar that I shared a year and a half ago. So the recording's out there if you'd like to do that. I know Sarah's recording this one as well. The cool thing about presenting it in this format instead of a webinar is we can have a discussion. We can talk throughout this. So as we go through this, feel free, if you have a comment or something that's worked for you or your team, please just raise your hand, stop me, mention something in the chat. I'll try to keep the chat open here so that I can see your comments coming through. But I'd love to have a discussion about this and talk about some of the things that you're doing to help your CSRs through some of these busy times as well. So just for those of you that I have not had the privilege of meeting yet, just a little bit about me. I am an industry advisor here at ServiceTitan. I have been running my own heating and air company for the last 15 years. My husband still runs the day-to-day, and I go in once in a while and help with marketing and other fun employee engagement events. I do the fun stuff there, so I love that. I've been a coach and a trainer here in the industry for about the last 5 or 6 years. I'm on the board of directors for Women in HVACR. This is my last year as a board member. So if you're not a member, I would encourage you to look us up, join. We've got a great conference in November. Lady Titans are going to be in the house. It's going to be a great conference. So we hope you guys will all come out. A couple other accolades there. What you should know about me is I have a passion for this industry. I have a passion for the trades, and especially for women in the trades. Many of you probably can relate to me when you say I've gone to a trades meeting before and I've been the only woman in the room. That was me for many years, and I often felt like I was in the wrong place, and I often felt like, what am I doing here? My background is in education. I used to be a second grade teacher. I taught second grade for 7 years before my husband and I bought our company. We bought Western Heating in 2007, right before the big recession of 2008. So it was a great time to buy a business. And we weathered through that, and we got through a lot of hard times, and we've grown. And just recently, this last year, we were acquired, which is a fun adventure to go through as well. So we've been through a lot, and it's been awesome. And now I just love helping other companies, and that's why I came to ServiceTitan, so that I could find a way to relate with contractors and just help ServiceTitan grow and help ServiceTitan help our contractors. So, so what we're going to talk about today is 4 keys to maintaining the control of the call. 4 things that you should teach your CSRs to do and help them do to help them stay in control. We're going to talk about how to answer the question, how much does it cost? Because you know, CSRs pick up the phone and sometimes that's the very first question a customer asks, how much does it cost to get someone out? We're going to talk about the secret weapon to maintaining control, how to resolve a complaint, and how to de-escalate a really upset customer. So these are some of the things that we'll go over today. All right. How confident are you in your ability to maintain control of the call? How many of you are still answering the phone? Every once in a while, you get to answer a phone call. Anybody? Some of you? Okay, good. Renee's like, yes, all me. The cool thing about answering the phone, and I love to answer the phone in my company, is that you have an opportunity to have a great interaction with one of your customers. It's amazing. We have an opportunity to make every interaction count. You have no idea who's on the other line when you pick up. And that's why you need to make sure that every call counts, that you're finding out as much as you can, you're making a connection, and you're building that relationship so that you can eventually have a great relationship and an amazing new customer. The 4 keys to maintaining a call and staying confident and in control on every call. Let's start with number 1. Number 1 is preparation. Preparing your body, your space, your mind. Lori's been to some of my 7-star CSR trainings before, so I know she's heard this before. But preparation is key. Don't just hire a new CSR and stick them in front of the phone. They will freak out. So make sure they've got their water nearby. Make sure that they've had, talk to your CSRs about the importance of getting enough sleep, having enough energy throughout the day. That's the one thing about a CSR is you've always got to be on. Having a clear space, a clear desk. Your environment that you're sitting at is a reflection of what's going on in here. And so if your CSRs are sitting at a messy desk, there's a good chance their mind is going to be like, too. So clearing your space, making sure you've got your ServiceTitan up, your phone ready, a notebook and a pencil ready in case something happens. You've got everything set and prepared. And the third one I think is the most important one. And that's the one we're going to focus on today the most is our mind, making sure that we're mentally prepared and ready for whatever call is going to come through. I love this quote by Benjamin Franklin, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So let's drill this into our CSRs to begin with. Like, we need to be prepared and feel good about what we're doing, our body, our mind, our soul, our space, everywhere, so we're ready to go. Have you ever heard the saying, you are what you say you are? Has anyone ever heard that? The idea behind this is that you will become what you believe by attracting what you think. So if you're like, I am so slow today, I am so tired, I'm never going to get this. The language that you use reflects what you become and how you act. You're actually manifesting how you are going to perform. And this is a huge thing that we need to teach our CSRs. If they're coming in and they're like, oh, I'm just not getting this, I'm just, like, change their language. I'm going to be speaking at the Women in HVAC conference this fall, and my whole talk is on the language of leadership and how the language that we use will either propel us into becoming a better leader, or it will hinder us and it will hold us back. The same thing is true with CSRs. The language that they're using about themselves, about other people, about experiences, that is the experience they will create. So listen to the language that your CSRs are using as they're talking about themselves, as they're talking about your team members, as they're talking about your company, because they really do, what they're saying, what they're thinking will attract it, and that's what they will become. Any thoughts on that? I see a lot of head nodding. Any Does anyone have an example experience they want to share in that regard?
Yeah, I write out I say positive affirmations every time before I get on stage, before when I was answering calls, because that's just such a hard job. But then also every day I have goals that I read, and it's called a prosperity plan. And so it's something that I write it as if I've already done it. And so that's how I lead my life is by, positive words and mental preparation. So yeah, this is good stuff. Like CSRs definitely need it.
And I completely agree, because the positive affirmations are huge. And especially as a leader, if you have somebody that, like you said, Angie, coming in and, oh, I'm having a horrible day, this went wrong, that went wrong, ask them what went right, what makes you smile. I always ask any of my subordinates and anybody in the company, even the owner, if he was having a bad day, hey, what's going right today? And one of the things that and you probably have gotten this from me, is when you ask how my day's going, I'll be like, even if I'm having a bad day, I'll be like, you know what? The sun's shining. I cannot complain. It's another beautiful day. There's always something to look forward to. And another neat thing to do is with that desk space is challenge them to, what are, those 2 or 3 things that make you happy and smile every day. It might be a picture of your pet, your cat, like a vacation spot you want to go to. But having that right there for them to visually see on their desk really helps them get that smile in their voice before they start the call, which is another part of that that ownership and preparing mentally for it. And the other thing along the lines of wording, especially for the company, one of the big things when I wrote the scripts for corporate DirecTV for all of their call centers, we had an ownership mentality. So the scripts were called, I am DirecTV at that time. So I always challenge all of my CSRs, no matter what company I'm with, is I am the company, I am Western. And so when they're talking to the customer, it's not, well, they did this or somebody did that. It's we are going to do this, us together, because then it builds that ownership in the call, and the customer really feels that. So
love that.
I absolutely love, the wording is everything.
We like memes here. Every morning, usually I'll find a goofy, funny meme just to start the day off on the right foot, because we all know, especially in the summertime, you get some very fun customers to deal with. So when it's crazy busy and you're already thinking 10 calls ahead, I try to just lighten the mood and be like, hey, today's going to be a good day. Make it a good day. Like, we have the power to do that. One call at a time is our thing here. Don't worry about the next call. Don't worry about the last call. Worry about the call you're on. If the phones are ringing off the hook, we will get to them, but let's focus on the customer, give them full attention. And that kind of helps stay positive. But memes are a big one for us, because our girls, our dispatch team loves memes for whatever reason, which is really easy to find a lot of them on Google. So that's usually how I start the mornings.
That's awesome, Renee. And one thing I'll add to that is that I would have our dispatchers that loved memes too. Their like thing for the day was, I challenged them to find a funny meme to also put in the content portal in ServiceTitan that'd go to all the technicians, so the technicians would participate too. So that's awesome.
Oh, that's super fun. I love it. Yeah. And I had my dispatcher, she's been with me for 8 or 9 years now. And her go-to phrase was, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. We have someone on our team like that now, Danielle as well, who uses that quite often. But she had a picture of a goat standing on the edge of a cliff, just about ready to fall off. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. And that was, she would look at it every day and we would just giggle, but it really just, even saying that over and over again, everything's going to be fine, would help her. So in order to be successful, you have to see yourself as successful. And our CSRs need to be able to see that too. So recognize the good things they're doing, help them. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed. It's very easy to feel like you're not enough and you don't know all the answers, because they don't, as CSRs. I always felt very like I never knew enough technical background to be a CSR, but they really need to understand your job is not to be a technician. Your job is to make a connection with the customer and let them know that you can get them the help they need. Your job is not to answer their technical questions. So if they can have a good relationship, if they can stay calm, that's what's important. So help them realize I am in control. The second step is emotional management. It's very easy, especially if you're talking to a customer in high emotions. It's very stressed, very upset. They need someone out there now. Their tone, their pace gets in a certain way. It's very important for CSRs to be able to maintain their emotions. They can use that with their voice by staying calm and having that calm tone, that calm demeanor, keeping their pace nice and even, being patient, not interrupting the customer, letting them talk it out, taking deep breaths to release those negative emotions, like breathe through it. I love this thought, take control of your emotions before your emotions take care of you. And one thing I wanted to ask all of you to share is think about, do you let your CSRs have emotional breaks? What do you do? How do you do that? Do you plan for that? And how do you work through that with them? So because one bad call can be just like, it can set you off for the rest of the day. So we need to allow our CSRs some time to regroup, to release all that negativity. Any best practices or things that you do to make sure your CSRs have this time to step away for a minute and reset?
I am all for breaks. I encourage at least, at the minimum, a 15-minute break before your lunch and after your lunch. Because like you said, you need to step away. And we're really big. I know we're really big on making sure you take even your lunch break. Because some people are like, oh, it's busy, I'm going to work through my lunch. And I'm like, no, like you need to take a break. We got it. It's okay if you leave for even just 30 minutes or an hour, whatever you're going to do. But there's studies that have shown that taking a lunch break, stepping away from your workspace, away from your desk. We have a lot of girls are remote. So I'm like, shut your computer for your lunch. You don't need to hear the dinging of the messages going on and thinking like, oh, am I missing something? So we definitely encourage the lunch break. Obviously things happen and there's times they can't take them or they don't want to take them because they are, leaving early that day or what have you. But
yeah.
We're big, players making sure everyone has a lunch break and that they take their lunch break. And it's not just about getting overtime. It's about taking that emotional step away.
Right.
And be way happier in the afternoon if you do it too, and more productive instead of trying to push through that last stretch of the day.
Right. It's kind of like a gas tank, right? Like you can only let it deplete so far before you have to go refill it up. And so I love what Aurora said, just take a shop lap, walk around for a minute, go get a treat, go get a drink, go to the restroom, like disconnect for just a second, let your mind clear, refill with some positivity, and then get back at it. Yeah. Thank you. Awesome. I love all these ideas. Sarah, we need to make sure we save the chat because we've got some really good stuff coming in here. This is so good, you guys. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Number 3 is taking ownership. You need to help your CSRs understand that they're not responsible to fix every single problem. Every customer that calls in, they don't have to have all the answers. They don't have to fix everything. What do you actually have control over? You have control over your attitude, you have control over your emotions, and you have control over the way you respond to the situation. You don't have control over what your company's pricing is or what your company standards or your company policies are. You just work there, right? Those things were set up and you're here to communicate those and share those, but you should not feel bad that the price that you say or the timing that you give or the solution that you offer is not what the customer wants, because the customer is going to unleash on you if that's not what they want. And they cannot take that on them. They have to somehow put up a shield and be like, that is not what I cannot let that affect me, and I cannot let that make me feel bad. There's a lot of mental work here with your CSRs to help them realize all I expect of you is to stay in control of your attitude, your emotions, and your response, and help them realize that they need to hold their power. Do not give anyone else the power to make them upset or to ruin their attitude or ruin their happiness for the day. You are in control of your own happiness. Do not give anyone else that power. Even if you have a customer yelling at you over the phone, you can stay in control, and you do not need to let anyone take that away from you. Moving on to number 4. Number 4 is to practice. It's not easy being a CSR. You're going to have a lot of bad calls. You're going to have calls that come in and you just can't book them. You're going to have some upset customers, but it takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of practice doing these other things too, with your emotional management, with knowing what you do have ownership over and you don't have ownership over. All of these things take time and take practice. So please be mindful of that with your CSRs and let them know, you know what, it's okay. We're going to keep practicing. You're going to get better. It's all about personal growth and personal development as a CSR. So thoughts before we move on?
You know, I keep adding to it, but
please keep adding, Renee.
You're talking about everything that is just so close to my heart. So for us, practice, I tell them to practice in a mirror, because I heard something recently, even for the technicians, if you're practicing on the customer, you're not giving yourself the justice, and it's going to take you a lot longer to get where you want to go, or make that call sound the way that you want it to sound, or how the company's policies or procedures are. So practicing in front of a mirror, even when you're driving home after work or driving to the grocery store, saying it out loud multiple times. Especially like scripting, if you have any type of scripting, like for us, it's like, you know, building the value, how to build the value. We have certain things that we look for in that value statement. So practicing it so you're not stumbling. We just changed our memberships recently. So practicing that instead of, you know, feeling like you don't know what you're talking about when you have the customer on the phone. Because that's what I hear a lot. It's like, oh, I'm not confident. And I'm like, well, to get that confidence, you have to practice. And the more you practice, the more confident you're going to feel. And that'll just really show in your calls as well.
Absolutely. And another thing is to listen to calls together. Take some time, whoever that is in your company, if you're the CSR coach or if you have a CSR manager or someone in your company that can sit down with the CSR one-on-one once a week and listen to 1 or 2 calls together and identify the things that they did really well in that call and ask them, you know, what do you think you did awesome in that call? And where do you see some room for improvement, to see if they can self-identify the areas where they need to improve. And then give them only 1 or 2 things to work on for the next week, because if you give them this laundry list of 10 things that they need to do before next week, it's overwhelming. So give them 1 or 2 things to work on. And then the next week when you sit down together, listen for those couple of things and see how they're doing. How did you do? Maybe it's the new scripting, like Renee said. Maybe it's building a connection. Maybe it's showing more empathy. Maybe it's changing the words that they use or the way that they phrase something. So just it's baby steps. We can't expect perfection overnight.
One thing we did as well is we actually used a form in ServiceTitan as like a call coaching form, and it has the main that we kind of look for on every call. So that way they have a guideline to see like, okay, where are they missing, you know, are they missing certain spots? Are they missing the order? And it just gives them just a better guideline. And then when I sit down and do call coaching with them, we pull that form up and we go through it together so that they can see where are they missing their points? Where are they really succeeding? And we talk about that as well.
And to go with that, I absolutely love that, Renee, is that, you know, use that time to not only listen to calls, but also use it for practice. You know, do a guided coaching where you're the customer and, you know, they're the CSR and vice versa. Let them hear you doing, you know, what you're asking them to do. It goes miles and miles. They love to role play. It makes it so much more realistic. You know, making sure and scheduling that time for the practice is really big. And the other thing that I love with Renee's point of, you know, listening to those calls and going through the form is you can also tag calls, and you can tag, if you find one that you want to highlight that is amazing empathy, or they did super well, or maybe they struggled, you can put tags to find those calls really easily and have them as a repository for them to be able to go to the search and look for a tag for really good empathy calls tag, and they can listen to those from other CSRs as well, or themselves, and be able to see those examples from real live examples versus you just telling them what it should be like. So utilize those resources and it'll be huge for them to be able to be impactful.
I love that. Such a great idea. Yeah, when I think about that, it takes me back to like when I was a kid and I was taking piano lessons. I don't know how many of you ever took piano lessons, but I remember like my teacher would put a brand new piece of music in front of me and I would look at it and I would just like stumble through it and try to figure it out. And sometimes I was just like, can you just play it for me? I need to know how it sounds. And then maybe I can play it. And sometimes our CSRs just need to hear what a good call sounds like. And so if you could role play that with them or have some examples like Danielle is talking about, once they hear it, they're like, okay, I think I can pick that up now, but they need a good example. So really, really good. Cool. All right. So I want to keep moving forward, but I want you to be thinking about how you'll practice these 4 things with your team. And we'll have a little bit of discussion later on because I'd love to hear what some of your takeaways are from today's training. So be thinking about some actions that you'd like to take because of what we've been discussing today. And we'll talk about those a little bit later on. So just remember the 4 ways for CSRs to maintain control: that preparation, their body, their space, their mind; emotional management; taking ownership, knowing what they are responsible for and what they should take ownership of and what they should not take ownership of, setting up those boundaries for them; and then the practice. The next thing that I wanted to jump into is the wonderful question that our CSRs all dread. How much does it cost? The CSR answers the phone, and before you even know their name, what they're anything, how much does this cost, right? So I think something that is so important to talk to our CSRs about is why a customer asks this question. Why do they ask it? We've all been customers before. We've probably called, and some of us have probably even used this as our opening line, haven't we? I am guilty of this. There are several reasons that they might do this. One might be because they are actually a price shopper. They are calling a lot of different places. They just want a price, right? Some of them might want more information, but they're just not sure how else to start the conversation. Like they might say, okay, how much does a tune-up cost? But what they really want to know is what's included in your tune-up. And that is just a way for them to open the door for your CSR to tell them what's included in the tune-up and why the tune-up is a certain price, and build some value there. I know if I call someone and they just give me a price over the phone, and I have to keep asking questions, and I might, but to me, that's a little frustrating. I want someone on the other end of the line that is just can tell me exactly what I'm going to get and can build that value and almost talk me into doing it, right? And I think that's what a lot of our customers want as well. And so when your CSRs hear this question, I think it's important to train them and help them understand, why are they asking this question? They're asking this question as a little bit of an icebreaker so that you have an opportunity to build value and talk about why a price might be a certain price. Let's dive into this a little bit more. When someone calls, this is how I train my CSRs, and I'd love to hear what you say. And I've seen a lot of different suggestions on masterminds as well. But if someone says, can I get a price for this? I train my CSRs to say, yes, I would be happy to help you with this. The answer is always yes. Yes, I can give you a price. But in order for me to give you accurate pricing, can you tell me a little bit more about the situation? If it's a service call, how long has this been going on? How many units do you have? How old is the unit? Where is it located? Has it been serviced recently? Have you had other problems with it? And you just start asking questions about that. And then the more that you can get them to talk and the more that you can get them to share about it, instead of just giving a price, you can say, well, it's always going to go to the diagnostic fee, right? Whatever they tell you is going to go to either a diagnostic fee or a membership, like a tune-up, or perhaps a lead. And so you can then let your CSR give the appropriate price for whichever of those things it is. We never give a price for a repair because we don't know the repair. It sounds like you need a technician to come to your home and give you a thorough diagnostic and assessment. If X isn't working, it's possible that there are other issues causing that to fail. So it sounds like we just really need to get a technician out there to look at that. Our diagnostic fee is X amount. This is when you start building value, and then you can give the price. I'd be happy to send a certified, knowledgeable technician to your home. You'll receive a text when he's on his way. He's going to arrive with a fully stocked van. He'll give you some pricing and options. And just so you know, there is an $89 service fee with this trip. Is morning or afternoon better for you? I'm sure some of you have different ways that you do this, but this is something that when I was coaching other CSRs, and I was coaching a specific CSR, not from my company, but from another company, as soon as the customer asked her about the price of how much something cost, she shut down, because money was always a mental thing for her. And she just, oh, I can't give them the price. I don't know the price, and I'm not sure how to answer this. And it just shut her down. And we have to know that a lot of our CSRs may have money issues too. Price might be something that triggers them, and they really struggle with answering this question. So help them, some type of a pattern similar to this is going to help them offset that price question. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are something that you do? Has anyone tried something like this, or what do you do in your company to help offset that how much does it cost question?
Especially during the summer, we run in this too a lot, or we'll get the question of, I had somebody else come out and they told me I need a blower motor. How much do you guys charge for that? Or how much do you charge per pound for Freon? One thing that we coach is making sure that you always start the call the same. The person asking the questions is the one that's going to be in control of the call. So if they're asking you, how much does it cost? Right now they have control. So you said we have to take back over control of that call. And it's by, perfect, I can definitely get an answer for you. May I ask who I'm speaking with? That's how we start almost every single one of our calls. And by starting it the same, it kind of sets them up for success to go through their same steps similar to you have here. If you used any of the coaching, companies that are out there like Power Selling Pros and Service Nation and any of the other ones that offer those CSRs, they're all very similar in the way that, you have to start with your relationship and then make sure you ask your question. And asking them why, why do you believe that you need a price for a blower motor, or what makes you think that you need, Freon in your system? And they're like, oh, well, someone came out and they put 6 pounds and now it's not working again. It's like, okay, well, there may be a leak. So, Angie, like you said, I think what's best for you, or what I recommend, I always empower my CSRs to say, what I recommend is getting one of our technicians out there. That way, if we do put Freon in, it's not leaking back out. You're making sure that you're, doing the most cost-effective option for your system to make sure that you're not, wasting money. And also, if it gets to the point saying, for liability purposes, the last thing we'd want to do is install this new blower motor for you that someone else told you. And that's not the fix. That's not fair to you. And it's not fair to us either, to make sure that we're giving you your best option. So kind of my thing is always starting the call the same and letting them know that they called the right place. Oh, you need a price for a blower motor? Not a problem. I can definitely help you with that. May I ask who I'm speaking with? And then they're like, oh, this is so-and-so. And then you start asking your questions and kind of take it from there.
Thank you for inserting that. I really should have that on here, that you make that connection with the customer before you dive into those questions. Find out their name, and that way you're easily, you probably already have their file there in ServiceTitan if they've done business with you before, but they don't know that. So it's important to ask their name and make sure you're talking to the right person and make that connection and then dive in. So thank you so much. Yes, I love it.
Yeah, when you jump directly to their answer, it's very easy for them to be like, because our CSRs were told we can't give price over the phone. Or if you say, how much is a blower motor? And they're like, oh, sorry, we don't give price over the phone. They're like, okay, thank you.
Okay, bye. And you're done.
Yep, you're done.
You can't just say, I don't give prices over the phone. Yes, we can get you a price for that, because we do know the price. The price is the diagnostic fee.
Yep.
They just don't know that. We have to help them realize.
Exactly. So by asking the question, you can really understand. And sometimes, I've had instances myself where it ends up being a 15-year-old system and they're trying to get a price for a blower motor. Well, my light bulb's going off going, well, this could be a replacement call. So now I have the power, because I've asked the questions, that if I get to the point and they don't want to have the diagnostic fee, then we're allowed to waive that diagnostic fee, because I want that call. It's a 15-year-old system. Who wouldn't want that call? So now, because I asked the questions before I just jumped and gave him his answer that he was looking for, I have the power. We call it our toolbox. You can't go into your toolbox unless something is broken. So if you didn't ask him how old his system is, and don't know that it's, a new owner, system's 15 years old, then you might not be able to go into your toolbox to say, oh, well, you know what, for you, because I saw someone mention it earlier, make sure the CSR can be the hero. So what I'll do is, for you, since you're a first-time customer and I really know you're going to enjoy our services and you're going to realize we have top-notch technicians, I'm going to waive this fee for your first visit so that you can really see, what our technicians are all about. And that is not until they say, oh, I don't want to pay anything for the visit. That's first you start off with your, whatever your service fee, for this example, $89. And then if they're like, oh, that's okay, it's like, you know what, actually, sir, for you, I'm going to waive that fee and we're going to get somebody out there. But I can't do that unless I ask my questions to be able to understand if I want this call or not. If it's a 1-year-old system and Joe Schmo put it in last year and now it's not working, am I going to waive a fee for him? Probably not. If I'm slammed packed with customers that are maintenance customers, he might not be my first one that I'm going to throw on the schedule today. But you have to ask those questions to be able to empower themselves to see how they need to take the call from the end of it.
And then give them the authority to do that. It's like, well, could I do that? I don't know. Am I able to just waive a diagnostic fee like that? So let them know what they are and are not able to do and have permission.
Our rule of thumb is anything over 10 years that has no AC, they have the ability to do that. But the question has to be asked. So if I see somebody that is consistently waiving it and we go back and listen to their calls and they're not asking, then it's a conversation that's had during call coaching.
I love that. Awesome. Any other thoughts? Thank you, Renee. Good stuff here. I love this. So Renee talked about this. This is a CSR's secret weapon to maintaining control of the call. Just like she said, if they're asking the questions and they're leading the conversation, they're in control. We need to take it back. We need to ask the questions. Our CSRs, as long as they're asking the questions, they're leading the conversation and they're staying in control. So just like in that last one, I'd be happy to help you with that, but just so I can give you accurate pricing, tell me a little bit more about the situations. I want to give you the best answer as a CSR, but in order for me to help you, I just got to gather a little bit of information from you. So you ask those questions to help your CSRs give them the best answer, which we know the best answer is to get our team out there to help you. The cool thing about questions is the more that you're asking, the more they talk to you. And so as a CSR, you have to listen. You can't just jump to what you think you should do. You keep asking questions. CSRs have a minimum number of questions that they should be asking on every single call. And a really good pro tip is to have those already in your job summary filled for each job type, so that you know exactly which questions they should be asking. And once they have those, if they're giving additional information or if there's other questions that you could have, we have a list of questions up on the wall. Here's more questions that you can ask just in case. We have these in the job summary, but in case you need an idea to keep the conversation going, do that. When you're listening, it helps and contributes to building that relationship, right? Sprinkling in those value statements as you're going along, as they're talking. You get to guide the call and book it by asking those questions. So yes, Danielle, active listening. Don't just listen to respond. Perfect. So questions, make sure your team has a toolbox. I like Renee's analogy there, a toolbox full of questions that they can ask. What about those calls where there's dead air? Throw in a question. Hey, have you checked your thermostat? Which you may not really even need to know that, but throw it in there so that there's just not dead air and the conversation can keep going. I love, when I think about this, I think about when I have to call the doctor. Let's say I have a daughter who's not feeling well and I call the doctor and I just say, hey, I've got to get my daughter in to see the doctor. And they're like, okay. And all they ask is her name and her age and maybe what's wrong with her. Okay. And then they book me an appointment. It's like, did they ask me enough questions? Do they want to know if she's got a fever? Do they want to know how long she's had this? Do they want to know like all of these things that I think they should probably be asking to make sure I get the right doctor? Now, some customers will call in and tell you all the details, but some won't. They just will give you minimum answers. So you have to get everything. And after I've just told all of that to the doctor's office, if I have someone asking me all those questions, excuse me, I'm may not want to call another doctor and go through that whole spiel again, right? Same thing with our customers. If they've just told you everything and you've been listening, why do they need to call anyone else? You've heard it all. You've got the best notes. You were listening the best so that you can help them. So I think that's super, super important to have that arsenal of questions ready to go. All right, go-to questions. I think we've talked about some of them already. Any go-to questions that you use or give to your team?
One of the dead silence ones that we have a lot is when we're scheduling inspection, because our schedule is pretty booked out for about 3-4 weeks right now. While they're clicking through the days, you have that awkward silence, and it's asking, how has the system been running? Let them talk. More open-ended questions when you have situations like that really helps to, while you're trying to quickly click through the days to find a good opening spot. That's one of our go-tos is, how's it been working for you? Is there anything in particular that you want the technician to pay special attention to, and see if maybe they've had any issues?
Awesome.
One big thing that I always coach to is with the active listening is, don't just listen to what they're saying, listen to the things that are going on around them. That sneeze in the background, it brings up things like, then you can really ask, like, how are your allergies? Mine have been horrible this year. It builds the relationship with the customer, and it gets you the end to, ask about, well, I have, after I put in a phenomenal air, then I haven't had as bad allergies. Maybe I'll have, Tim talk to you about IAQ, options to help with your really bad allergies. So it helps position the technician for success for larger sales, and it helps build that customer relationship that you truly care about them. Pets in the background, kids, if they seem rushed, that's even an option to be like, hey, I hear that you're really needing to get off the phone quickly. Let me go ahead and get everything we need. Let's get through these, get these questions done. But then I can follow up with you on chat if there's anything else, if texting is better for you right now. It gives you the options for you to own and lead the call, so they don't just hurry up and try to rush you off. And also, like I said, set up your team for success, set up that technician for that bigger ticket by getting those opportunities and hearing those things. And, when you hear that they have kids in the background playing, we want to make sure that, your children are, safe. So I'm going to ensure the technician knows that since he's getting in the crawl space, that he closes that lid behind him so that, your child doesn't fall in or get hurt or anything like that. There's different things that you can just bring up in those. And it also helps build more questions, because questions that build on top of themselves give you just more in-depth, that why. So always think of ways that you can have questions that lead to other questions.
Oh, good. I love that. And Madison, yep, you say something about your daughter so that you can relate. It's always good to have some way to relate to the customer, because they're like, we're the same. I'm your person. I'm going to help you out, and they can trust you. So I love that. And then if you want to take that another step, customer experience. Hey, in the notes, they've got kids, drop off one of our coloring books. Take a coloring book in with you, or they have dogs, take in pet treats with you, so the techs know that just a little bit extra about this customer so that they can deliver that amazing customer experience. All right, last couple minutes, let's talk about this guy. Let's talk about the guy and I say guy, but it could be a woman too. I've talked to plenty of mean women that call in and they are upset. You have just, not you, but your team, something about the company has upset them. And because you are the first one on the call as a CSR, you get to hear the wrath of it, right? And this can be tough for CSRs, especially brand new CSRs who may have never experienced something like this. And hopefully you have amazing customers and you never get a phone call like this. But just in case you do, we need to prepare for this, and we need to prepare our CSR so that they know how to handle a call when a customer calls in like this. So I have this really cool 5-step way to de-escalate a call and resolve a complaint. The key to de-escalating this call is this very middle one. That's why I put a star by it. And so I want you guys, if you get nothing else from this call, when you think about de-escalating a call, a customer calls in to complain, number one, Tell them thank you. Thank you so much for calling in. Apologize. I'm so glad you brought this to our attention. But let's go back to step number 1. I just want to reinforce that so you don't forget. That's the main thing you're supposed to remember here. Find out what the problem is. Sometimes they'll tell you the problem, but then we got to go back to our secret weapon, ask more questions, get as much information about it as you can so that you fully understand what their problem is. Restate it back to them to make sure that you truly do understand what it is. And once you do, that's when you tell them thank you. Thank you so much for calling in. If you skip this step and you just go to the next one and start looking for a solution, they're going to feel like you did not hear them, and they're going to continue to raise their voice. They're going to continue to get upset. We need to take a moment to just let them know we appreciate them for calling in and apologize that this happened. And we're going to find a great solution for them. We're going to take action, and then we're going to make sure after we've taken action as a CSR, we follow up and make sure that whatever we promised has actually happened and taken place. So determine the problem, restate for clarification, thank them, apologize, seek the best solution, and take action, and then follow up. We go over this a lot in our CSR dispatcher boot camp that we teach here at ServiceTitan, and we practice this. We do role playing with the CSRs as they go through this training. And the thing, if they miss this, it's like, guys, this is the number 1. You have to remember, stop and thank them and apologize. As soon as you do this, it's almost like they come back down. They just want to know that they've been heard and that their thoughts are validated and that their concern is validated. A few bonus tips here. Do not throw your team under the bus. Oh my gosh, James, that tech, he's always doing that. No, don't do that. It goes back to what Renee said. This is we, this is us, this is our team. Even though your CSR wasn't physically the person that fell through the ceiling. Anyone had a tech fall through the ceiling? I have several. Maybe it's just my team, but we're so sorry that happened. Thank you so much for letting us know. Don't throw anyone under the bus. Don't criticize. You're still a team. Learn from every complaint. When someone calls in and I say thank you for calling, I truly mean it. I am so glad they let me know because they're giving me an opportunity to improve my team. They're giving us an opportunity to learn and to become better, to improve our processes, improve our systems, and to, provide a better customer experience. So I truly am grateful when someone calls in to complain. And that's the mindset you need to give to your CSR. Like, be grateful for these complaint calls. It's not fun to be in them sometimes if you're not confrontational, but someone complaining is just an opportunity for you to grow as a team and grow as a company. So truly, truly thankful that they called in. And once that happens, you learn from it, you fix the system, you adjust the procedures, you fix what needs to be fixed so that doesn't happen again. These customers are actually helping you identify weak links and weak spots in your company. So having that mindset that we can look forward to these complaint calls and stay in control of the call and find a solution, that's the mindset you need to give to your CSRs and help them understand that. Okay. Danielle, you did have someone fall through the ceiling. Okay, good. So it's not just me. I've had 2. This has happened twice at our company. Or when we install the wrong unit. How do you install
Only
the wrong
twice?
unit?
Yeah, it's not just you, it's everybody. You're good.
Just double check.
It's not bad.
We
All
had
right.
someone put their foot through on a closet of Armani suits, and all that insulation went all over all of their nice suits.
Oh no. This would be a really fun future Lady Titans call, Sarah, just to go on and talk about like nightmare stories that we've all survived, to just so we all know that we're not the only ones, that this has happened to other people and we're all still doing great, right? Like,
I'm sure there are some pretty good ones out there.
That's a great topic. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll have some fun with that.
we should have a prize for like the worst story, and like, I don't know, that might be kind of fun. Maybe not. Maybe we don't want to know.
We just won't
all the
record that
dirty-
one, right? We'll just leave that one. That's a private conversation between, all of us, 1,000 members.
Exactly. That could be crazy. Okay, so just remind your CSRs, this is what our customers really want. And if you can deliver this as a CSR, then you're going to take great care of our customers. They want to be heard, so listen to them. They want someone to care, so show empathy. They want an apology. When something goes wrong, they want to know that you really are sorry. So sincerely apologize. I truly do apologize that this happened. This is not what we expect of our team. And I apologize. And we're going to fix that. They want validation. So accept responsibility. You're right. This is not up to our company standards. This should not have happened. You're absolutely right. They want a solution, so assure them that you're taking quick action to give them a resolution. And they want to make sure whatever mistake that your company did, that it will not happen again to them or to anybody else. So make sure that they know that you're learning from this, and this is going to make you a better company because they've called in to complain. So I know people dread those customer complaint calls, but if you can just shift your mindset that this is just helping us get better as a company and help your CSRs remember that they're not mad at them, they're mad at the situation. Remove yourself from this picture, right? Laura, did you have a comment?
So the one thing that we've done is we usually don't let or have our CSR deal with the irate customer. We pass it on to management or me. And then if it's something that can be resolved, like once we've gone through phone calls or whatever investigation we have to do, when it's the good news, a lot of times we'll let the CSR give the good news call back to them so that they're the hero, which has made it really good because they feel like they're not always the bad guy, or they're not always just dealing with the bad stuff. They get to have the reward of passing on the good news, because sometimes it seems like, the person who gets to offer the solutions, I guess, gets the reward or gets the feel good. So we have started doing that. We used to think that, if we handle all the problems and solve it for everybody, then we've taken the ownership away from. But then all of a sudden it was like, well, wait a minute, then they're just taking the complaints and they never actually get to, I guess, be on the good side. So we started doing that. Now, sometimes, some customers, nothing's ever good enough. So we actually handle those. But if it's an easy fix and they can offer them a rebate or something along those lines, or a free next service call or anything like that, then they get to, the CSR gets to do that. So that's been helpful for us.
That's amazing. Thank you, Laura, for sharing that. That's awesome. And yes, I know not everyone, some people are fortunate enough to have someone that can take those irate calls, and some are not. So good skills here for whoever has to handle those crazy customers and those hard calls. Melissa, did you have a question?
Yeah, I actually just had a quick comment and wanted to say that generally, as you stated, when there's a situation where the customer is just demanding for a manager right out the gate, it can put the CSR or CCR in an uncomfortable situation. Mm-hmm. And so they don't normally have a manager to go to. Either they're in the field or busy. The magic statement that's always worked for us is I'd really be happy. I'm glad that you got me on the phone today, because I'm personally going to make sure you get taken care of. Let me just understand your issue correctly, and then the CCR following up with, do I have your permission to give you a call back at this later date? Go do their research, and then, or at this later time, go do their research and then call back. So once they kind of become the advocate for the customer, it automatically diffuses the situation, because now we've empowered them to really just say, you know what? I'm really happy that you got me on the phone today. I'm personally going to make sure you get taken care of. And then all of that confrontation is dropped between the customer and the CCR.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you for sharing. What a great tip. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
I think people get frustrated too, having to repeat the same story to 5 different people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I just had this
conversation.
Yeah. So that's something also to think about. If you're just like, okay, let me transfer you, and you transfer them to somebody else, they're starting all over, and it just building that rage in the customer that we don't want.
Yes, absolutely. Good. Cool. All right. Well, we are at the end of our call. Today, we've gone over the 4 keys to maintaining control, how to combat the how much does it cost question with our secret weapon, which is asking more questions, how to resolve a complaint, and just really what customers want and how we can give that and empower our CSRs to give that. So thank you guys all so much for all of your great tips and contributions throughout the call as well. I learned a lot from you. I even took some notes, so thank you so much. And just our last couple of minutes, Sarah, we'll just turn it over to questions or anything else that you wanted to share.
I'm good. I just want to say thank you so much for showing up big for us. I really appreciate you. And yeah, really appreciate it. This was great. I'll have the recording out later this week. I'll send an email, the right kinds this time. And yeah, everyone have a beautiful day. Thank you. I'll give you some time back.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great one. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Great. Thank you.
Happy Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. Bye.